Hello everybody. As my first video, I get to have an exclusive with Dalmont of all people. So say hi, Dalmont. Being shy.
Apparently, I am running disgustingly low on memory, so.
Ah, that's rough. Alright, well we can take a look here. See what we got. And what do we have here then, Dalmont?
Alright, we have basically a step-by-step walkthrough of how to build, I assume, the SFW Libra, which is our brand new cargo ship. Hasn't been released yet, so this is our first look at the official release candidate. And basically what we decided to do is line up all the work in progress builds. So essentially, this is pretty much how the ship gets made. One on the left is the first work in progress, and the one on the far right, all the way down the line, is the final ship. So I know a
Alright,
lot of people have been asking for.
let's do a quick run through across all of them, and then we'll start at stage one. And you can tell us what happened a little bit with each
Sounds
one.
like a plan to me.
So yeah, we've got a few ships in a line here. Ironically, all the same ships. Let's do a fly across the top and back, and then we'll get started here.
I've got to admit, it's the first time I've ever seen them lined up like this. I've got hundreds of these work in progress builds, and I think we should definitely do a couple more of them.
I
I
am
got some
all
pretty
set for that.
interesting ones.
I am definitely good for that. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've got a folder full of these, so kids, lock your doors, close your hard drives, and don't be afraid to do work in progress step by steps. It also helps if your computer crashes every now and again, like mine does, and blows everything up.
Clear out some hard disk space too. Assuming you get something corrupted. Alright, so let's start on stage one here. Get this a little better. There we go. Alright, so
All right, so for stage one, pretty much just thought to myself, okay, cargo ship. What does the cargo ship have? It has a cargo bay. Okay, what does the front of it look like? A truck. So we're going to go with truck. And that's pretty much what popped out. Um, Nothing much to see. Uh, I kind of went with a shipyard kind of feel for the cargo bay, something that I'd seen a lot of people doing, and I wanted to basically give it a try, take a whack at it.
yeah, it's an interesting look for a cargo ship because you get like three kinds. You get the center spine and everything's attached to that. You get the train version, and then you kind of get this, but you don't see this version very often. At least I haven't. So I really like it actually. All right, so we want to move on to stage two.
Sure, stage two. I actually put the cargo container in. We'll have to spawn one of those in a bit, but and then I decided it needed some defenses, but because it's a cargo ship and I like to make my ships slightly underpowered for future role playing, I decided to put a couple of turrets on it, little ones. And I like to fit in the docked units before I start building the ship, mostly because it helps drastically reduce the amount of time you put into getting the size of the docking error to or docking area. Yeah, docking error. That kind of sums it up right there. But it drastically
Exactly.
reduces the amount of mistakes you make putting the docking areas together, and
So
it
you hear that,
really,
girls and
really helps pull it
boys?
together.
Make your docking areas first.
It will help you. It will save you so much time.
All right. So you can kind of start to see everything come together there. Still no engines yet, though.
Nope.
All
version
right.
Yeah, version 3, as we move down the line, I pretty much decided, okay, I got no room for systems. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to make this a spindly little ship and everything's going to be wonderful. And as you can see, actually, on version 3, I had rounded off some of the areas at the back. It was originally not intended to be as big as it was. Um, and then the realization hit me this ship is going to be paper thin and fairly useless. And I went ahead and added the engines later on. But what's kind of funny about this version is up until this point, I had originally decided that that bottom little area under what is to become the bridge in the front of the ship was actually going to be filled with subsystems as another method of storing them, since I didn't have a lot of space in the back due to the cargo bay. being so spindly.
Okay, so you're just gonna fill that up with your power and thrusters or whatever else extra stuff you needed.
Yeah, pretty much. I have another ship designed similarly to this one. It's the mech carrier, and it's kind of I call that the humpback design, putting
Yeah,
putting stuff where
okay.
stuff is not.
Right, yeah, just filling up any extra space you can find. Yeah, I mean that's a good policy to have, but well, let's take a look at what then happened and how that whole bit changed with
So
the addition of this back end.
as soon as I realized that I was out of systems, I thought to myself, okay, how can I make the ship still retain a pretty cool shape and carry enough stuff to not get zapped instantaneously? And of course, the logical thought that occurred to me was engines, because I like putting big hulking engines in all of my ships and filling them up with systems because it gives you room for interior.
Yes, it does.
That's a design trend that I usually follow. Is I'll put a larger engine on the ship. It's part of the reason the Comet, actually, my little fighter, was so successful, is because it had these massive engine in this little body, and it looked real sleek. But in fact, there's about twice as much space uh, inside as you could see on the outside. It's bigger on the inside. That's the motto for the ship construction,
It's a
as
good
far as
motto to
subsystems
have.
are concerned.
Yeah, I know on my projects, I'm amazed at how big, you look at something on the outside, you say that's big, and then when you go inside, you
And it's
can make it
little.
seem, yeah, it can be either really tiny or, in the case of the one I'm working on right now, it's absolutely massive, and I don't know what I'm going to do with everything with it. But that's a lucky place to be in. Normally
Oh
it's,
yeah,
yeah, you got nothing.
that's exactly why I usually I start out building. I basically plan out where I'm going to do the interior first to avoid ever running into that problem. Like no matter whether or not I'm going to do the shell or the systems first, it's always interior before anything else. And simply because if you don't do that, you're going to end up with an unplanned interior and a low ceiling, and that's just going to be terrible. Also,
Yeah.
speaking of interiors, three, anything that can be multiplied by three. It's the golden rule of architecture, the golden ratio, I think it's called. Always build in threes if you can do it, or multiples of three. Things that can be multiplied by three and divided evenly by three again. Very, very useful way to maximize, yeah, your space. It doesn't seem like it at first, but if you build a wall 4 blocks high instead of 3 blocks high, the one that's 3 blocks high actually looks taller to the human eye than the one that's 4 blocks high.
Really? Okay, so there's a nice useful tidbit there. I might have to
You
remember
can use
that.
that in Minecraft as well.
Okay, okay, good to know. Definitely good to know. Okay, so you want to move on to stage 4?
Yes, stage four.
All right.
Stage four was pretty much just building on the last stage, adding a little bit more detail, filling in the systems, that sort of thing. Still didn't really have a good idea of what I wanted to do with the front at this stage, but I was really fond of how the engines were coming out, and I wanted to make the ship look a little bit faster, so I put the wingy bits on the back, and that's pretty much all that happened with this work.
Okay, all right. So when in doubt, wingy bits. Roger that. I'll remember that one for later.
What was that now? What was that?
When in doubt, use wingy bits on your ships.
Yes. Yes. Good motto.
All right.
And you must refer to them as wingy bits. That's
Exactly.
absolutely
That's a
essential to the
technical term.
success of your design. Technical term indeed.
All right. So if that's about all we did here, although it is an important step, if that's the only step, then let's move on to stage 5.
All right, stage five was kind of a bigger one. Generally, was getting the engines in place. One of the things I learned, especially with engines, is always, always, always separation. I see a lot of engines that are blobs of lava and or ice and or lights. And please, for the love of God, avoid using lights for your engines. I don't know why, but it bothers me, drives me absolutely crazy, and it makes them look blocky and unpleasant. But generally, I actually used to make that mistake a lot. Is I would put in too much detail into the engine, over the ice, or lava or what have you, or I would put in too little. It would look very bright and overwhelming. So I've been working, especially lately, on making a nice balance between the two. So it's a little bit more refined. Looks a little more spacey, a little bit more like an actual engine than just a large uh, ice wall, if you will.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I know I have problems with that, and I know a lot of people, I'm sure, probably do as well.
An interesting feature to keep your eye on, if you look on the top of the main body, so to speak, you'll have two long lines of black hull. Now that's an interesting feature. That's something that really kind of shows you how I think about the detailing. Uh, this is how it started. I was like, I need something to separate this here. The lines were just too long and it was drawing the eye to the wrong place. So I needed some separation. So I put that in there, but of course, wasn't very well thought out. So as we go down the line, you'll see that that steadily improves and kind of meshes into the design more and more. So plan your detailing. Plan out large areas you want it to be, and add little details as more gets put onto the ship. And that'll help you fill space and at the same time not be repetitive and rib everything. I know I cheated a little bit and used ribs on this one, but please stop ribbing everything.
All right, so we're watching. Let me get a better view of these two lines here. These two black lines on either side of the white spine. All right, so we're all watching that now. All right, so we gonna move on to the next one then?
I think so.
All right. Now we can see you got the center engine in here.
Yep, this was actually a really big step. A lot of work got done on this version. I really was starting to refine the details here. Uh, Filled in most, if not all, of the systems at this point, and I had begun work on the interior, essentially trying to figure out where everything was going to lie, get a real feel for the profile at the front of the ship. As you saw before, it was really kind of mushy, so to speak. And I
And the
actually put in
observant
the first deck on this one as well.
and the observant watcher here will have seen the subtle change on the spine, but I'm not going to show that again yet. I'll show it again when we go back. Because we're going to peek up at this window here and see what you did with the interior so far.
This is, I think, one of my more simple interiors, but I gotta say, I like it. I'm looking forward to actually spending some time in this ship. I don't often do that. I usually just make them and throw them out.
Here you go, everybody. Now I'm on to the next one. That sort of thing.
Pretty much. I don't usually get a chance to enjoy my ships. I got a couple that I'm really partial to, but typically I'm just building things.
Alright, so there's from the top little skylights. Yeah, I like the skylights a lot actually. That's something I might have to do myself. Alright, and so for everybody that didn't see it before, you can see what he did with the little spinal, or the side little bits along the spine here.
Yeah, guys, do everything you can to break up the line. I mean, if you're having trouble, if your ship looks like a blob, even if you've done a lot of really nice work, even if it's a good-looking ship and it looks like a blob, it doesn't look like it's as aggressive or as defensive as you want it to be, you can basically make, if you see how those are now broken up and pointing in one direction, it makes the ship look longer, makes it look faster, draws the eye forward. In fact, if you look carefully, you'll notice that almost everything on this ship draws the eye forward. Every wedge kind of has its place specifically to move your eye where I want it to go. So kind of think about pointing, drawing lines to where you want people to see it in 3D space.
There we go. We'll get a good look from the front. And it does actually look a lot longer than some of the earlier versions. I like the little wedge windows too on the sides.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. It's a shame though sometimes because it's typically to get that exactly right, you need it to be 3 thick, and oftentimes a 3 thick wall is a bit impractical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these ones turned out pretty good, I gotta say. They look nice. Alright, so is there anything else on this one?
I added the little stripy bits to the side. A
Oh yeah.
little more detail on the front, but other than that, not really.
Okay, so shall we hit up the next one here?
Sounds like a plan to me. This is our second
Uh,
to last work in progress.
Now, was this the one that I saw earlier?
Yes, yes, it was. I
Okay.
finally finished it. This is the second to last work in progress. On this one, we're adding more and more detail. Once again, even on areas that are detailed, we added detail on the details so that we could detail while we detailed.
All
You know,
right.
that sort of thing.
Yo, dog, I heard you like details,
Oh yeah,
that sort
once or
of
twice.
thing.
And as per your suggestion, I went ahead and added the claw. And oh my god, the claw. That is
Yeah.
like my favorite thing on this ship. I absolutely adore that.
All right, so let's take a look at this claw here. What is it? It's a what did you say? It was a telescopic arm extendo claw thing.
Yes. If you guys have ever seen the little tentacle arms from the destroyers in War of the Worlds, it's kind of like that. It just kind of expands and grabs things because I'm way too lazy to make that. Period. I mean,
Yeah,
really.
well, that's fair. Plus, you've only got so much space. And besides, you are in space. These things are weightless. You can move them around all you want.
Exactly.
Oh, let's see here. What else did we, or did
One
you?
of the one of the neat little things on this one, actually, compared to the previous build, if you come back onto the little wingy bits that we added earlier,
Right?
you'll see that there's little white details on the
Oh
details, and then
yeah.
you'll see how that actually goes a step further in the final version. It's basically when you think you have enough, you're almost there.
Okay. So we're looking at these little white wingy things on the wingy things. Okay.
Build layers, create shadows, and it will break up that blobby outline that I see a lot of the time. Always, always, always work with your shadows. Break up every line you see, and try and avoid tangent lines. If anything looks like, if you have two separate parts of a ship and they look like they're kind of running into each other, if that makes any sense, try and kind of avoid it. For example, the reason I put those white bits on there is because the little wingy bits coming out of the engine looked more like a part of the engine and less like wingy bits. But now that these are on there, the line is broken up. There's 3 dimensions to it, and it kind of seems like a different part of the ship, not just an extension of the engine.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And that makes a lot of sense. Which I suppose is a good thing, because if it didn't, then
We'd be in trouble.
exactly.
I
All
would
right.
also, yeah, I'd also recommend that people don't miss out on detailing the inner parts of your ship. If you compare the inside of these engines to the inside of the engines in the previous build, you'll see a massive, massive difference. Just because somebody's not going to look at it doesn't mean you're allowed to skimp on it. If you're going to detail it all the way. Don't
All
leave
right.
big flat exposed areas unless your ship needs to have big flat exposed areas, in which case more power to you.
So was there anything else done at the very front of the ship in the cockpit and stuff?
Not particularly. I think in this build add the wedges to the door.
Okay, let's see.
So blend it in just a wee
Oh,
bit
okay.
better.
Yeah, okay. Was this the
Once
one
again, you'll see
where?
the door is
Oh,
3 wide. Three, 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 three,
yeah.
three, three, three. Always three.
And then the wedges are there to sort of break that up. Okay, I like that door. I mean, I know that's a really simple door design, but I really like it.
It also doesn't look like it's there. I love
Yeah,
hiding my
that
doors.
was that's something that I know I need to learn how to do is hide my doors to a certain extent. Because that, I mean, if the doors look like they're just detailing, they don't look like doors, that makes it look a lot more interesting, at least to me.
Alright, I think that's about all for this version, so I believe it is time to move on to the coup de grace, the
All
final
right. And
Libra. And now,
this one will
go ahead.
actually go inside and everything. 'Cause,
Awesome.
yeah.
This is the one where you're really gonna see the trick. If you look, keen observers, on the main body, right by the spine, you'll see what became of that set of little black stripes, and how that's now kind of gone a step further to really blend the body. And furthermore, it serves a useful function. It adds lighting to the inside of the cargo bay while at the
Ah,
same
that's
time
right.
being hidden.
So let's sneak in here, and you guys can see the lighting on the inside here. It's a tight fit in the core, even. It works. So yeah, so these are directly underneath those lines there, so that they're hidden from the outside, but you get all the lighting on the inside. That's really nice. And then we need to look at the wingy bits. We need to remember to look at the wingy bits.
You'll notice the white are still the same, but I went ahead and followed the uh, pattern again, added detail to detail with the white ones up above.
Okay, yeah.
If you compare
Okay.
them, it doesn't seem like much, but it
It
is
really
just a world of
makes
difference.
it jump out a lot more. It really does. It's really those shadows, I think, is really what helps, in my opinion anyway, because it gives it that extra dimension there. And then we've
It
got
pops.
exactly, and then on the sides of the engine, I know some people didn't may not have noticed it, but some of the stuff wasn't raised, and then I believe you added these little white, they almost look like E's, maybe,
That is
on the
correct.
side,
I did something
with
else.
what is it, lava and wedges behind it?
Yep.
That
Don't be
is
afraid to
really
use
interesting.
contradictory angles, and don't be afraid to break already existing lines. Things can be painted different colors in the real world. They can be painted different colors here.
All right.
And another neat little thing, just a tiny, tiny touch, and it's these things that I think really make ships is right on those two kind of sections popping out of the engine.
Right. Where is this?
There's a hole in the back of them now.
Two sections popping out of the engine. All right.
Not the wingy bits, but the other little kind of wing-looking things. There's
All right, I
a
need to
hole
find
in
it.
similar shape,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. I see it.
and that
So
negative
we're
space
talking
as you
about
move around the
this.
ship shows you the white through the ship itself.
Okay, so we're just talking about these right here, and that is a very small detail that you won't notice unless you're kind of above it, but it does add some serious. Well, it adds. That's all there is to it. Especially when you're right above it. That's really nice.
And one thing to keep in mind too is this is actually a release candidate version. I have a system for the ships where basically there's the release version, there's release candidates. Usually I'll go through 3 different release candidates where I'm fixing little glitches, little errors, missing blocks, that sort of thing. And then the final version will come around. It's a relatively new system actually. I've only done it for the past 10 or so builds, but it's been really helpful in letting me get out, quality work. So don't be afraid to say it's done, fly it around, find an error, and then be like, okay, it's not done. You know, don't be afraid to screw up, basically, because even on ships like this, I have shield blocks out of place, hanging off the tail or the engine or something. I got, all sorts of things. Anybody who's particularly sly or seen a lot of my ships will know that there's a lot of those mistakes hanging around.
And that's when it's like the magic of editing after the raw footage is cut, if you will.
That's one thing I don't want to do a montage of.
Well, maybe someday I'll just sit here and just and leave the camera on the whole time, and then just speed it up about 12 times so that it's only an hour long footage. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So do we have most? Well, all right. I think you added these little semi ribs here to the top of the front.
Yeah, that was actually your suggestion. We added a little more bulk to the cargo bay because it was looking a
Yeah.
little bit anemic, is the word I would use.
Yeah. Okay. That was over here. Oh, okay. Almost crashed into it again. Driving a core can be a pain.
Yeah, that's what happens when you got 200 max speed.
It does tend to And they make it a little bit trickier. Yeah. All right. So this has all been bulked up a bit. All
Oh,
right.
I think we missed. I did put an interior in the bottom section, and I also added a viewport. Oh, that's another one of your suggestions. So you added a viewport to the back so you could overlook the cargo. You said truckers do that a lot, and I
Well,
hadn't
I
thought of
mean,
that, but I
at a
suppose they
minimum,
do.
they have windows or mirrors or something. It's kind of nice to be able to look behind you and make sure, yep, the trailer's still there.
Especially in StarMade, because bad things could happen. That being said,
Yeah.
armor your cargo containers, folks. That cargo container, just about as much shields as the ship does. So, no skipping there. And some may say, well, if you're really just trying to transport cargo, why not close the whole band? I'll tell you why. Because it's a pain in the butt and doesn't look as cool. Who wants to fly something that doesn't look as cool?
I agree. Yeah, you always want to fly something that looks cool.
Exactly. That's kind of the whole design philosophy of my ships. Most of them could be 10,000 times more effective if I made them look like a cube filled with lasers, but I don't. So there's that.
All right, I'm gonna jump out so that I have a little bit better control too. And should we take a look at the inside?
Sounds good to me.
All right, I'll pop through this little door here. Ah, there you are.
I have
All
yet
right,
to actually be in this thing in astronaut mode, so this will be an interesting.
all right, I got
So
gravity,
that is an
so we
interesting
can.
view.
Yeah,
It looks big. It looks really big.
it makes it look huge, just downright massive.
Oh, but it's tiny too. That's the best part.
I know,
I was a
right?
little bit worried about this interior because it was a tight fit. Usually I like to do
Yeah.
more in it, but this one's kind of narrow. So here we have the core room. Uh,
All
I'm gonna remove a block here and show you a neat little trick. A lot of people are kind of afraid to have ship systems in their interiors. Don't be, because there they are.
right.
That's how the claw is sitting on there right now. Don't be afraid to push and pull and put ship systems inside your interior. You can cover them up and be very clever
All
if you're
right.
so
So there's
inclined.
another great tip from Dalmont. All right. So we're on the upper bridge part,
Yep, that would
and I'm
be
gonna
a
jump,
bridge.
start dancing on the table.
Oh yeah, standing room only in this one, save for the captains. One of the things I actually see a lot of people miss out on in StarMade, they don't do like everybody seems to have forgotten what Minecraft is. Shameless plug, right? But do some of the stuff I've seen in Minecraft. Add trees, add hanging lights. Do things that are unorthodox and really kind of make it feel homey.
Oh, I like those lights. I didn't even notice they were hanging at first. That is really, that's clever. I like that.
Wait till we get downstairs. There's another neat use for those. The
Oh
little
boy.
hanging lights.
Well, I
I
saw,
love those things.
what was it on the Aetherius? You used them as a gate or a fence sort of thing?
I used him as a fence, and I also, to credit RIP, he did a ceiling fan. Actually, using that as the kind of hanger for the
Oh,
ceiling
that's
fan.
right. Yes, I think I saw that too. That I mean, I think we need more stuff like hanging fans in StarMade. Seriously, or hanging lights rather. I mean, just those weird blocks that you can really do a lot with.
Oh yeah, no, that is actually by far my favorite block of all time, and I don't even put many antennas on the ships. I mean, that is the best block I think has ever been added to this game thus far in alpha. But
At least for
that's just
detailing,
me.
because I'm
Yes,
still somewhat partial to pulsators and disintegrators, as you may have seen earlier.
I do like them a lot. Pulsators, I have a love-hate relationship with, but disintegrators, oh, all day.
Just a giant disintegrator lance into
Oh
whatever you
yes.
want. All right, shall we adjourn to downstairs?
Yes, indeed. This is the observation deck, since this is a short haul cargo ship. And actually, I'll go ahead and point out an error. As you see, this is just a release candidate. Ship just got finished, and if you look up there, there's a missing wedge.
Aha! Dalmont makes mistakes like everyone else.
Yes, I am human. It happens, folks. It happens.
We were pretty sure you were Vulcan until you missed that wedge. We were almost positive.
Oh. Nacy, that would have been cool. I want to be Vulcan. That's awesome.
Well, fix the wedge. I'll edit it out. We'll call it good. I won't edit it out. Too bad. Uh,
Darn. But yeah,
you're
if you saw
you're
the
half
hanging
Vulcan,
lights.
half human. How about that? We'll go with
Okay,
that.
I'm
Like
I'm a
Spot.
Spock. Yeah, I could live with
Yeah.
that.
All right.
So yeah, hanging lights. Look, they're also stems for
All
alien
right. So
trees.
you got little trees here. That's like bonsai plants.
Kinda.
Only you
We're
can't
taking
shape
more
them.
inspiration from Minecraft, except instead of fence posts, we have hanging lights. Also, I did a new thing. I gotta say, it's one of my favorite new things. These chairs done into the wall. This is now my favorite thing on this entire ship, and it seems so simple, but look forward to this in my future builds. These are awesome.
And they're pretty space saving too, really. I mean, when you get down to it. I mean, because you're not trying to bring them out one or anything. Yeah, that's a really nice. Well, you can't really see me, but let's see. Yeah.
If I wanted to get technical, I could theoretically put a shield block in there, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, filling up every extra space, but I mean, it's. Remember, it is a cargo hauler. It's not going to be super shielded, right?
Oh no, definitely not. It's got a fair bit, but for what it is, it's fairly underpowered. Speaking of stats, I'll let you hop into the core room. I've done a kick lately where my ships don't have weapons. So you can check it out.
So if you see him if anybody sees Dalmont cruising around the server, he most likely does not have weapons. Everyone, I did not say that, but just remember that. I'm not saying anything. Right. So remember, he can also destroy entity. That might be a problem for you.
That is best weapon.
All right. So let's run in the back then, real quick.
The destroy entity is now the official SFW derp cannon.
Alright, jump out of this and jump up here. Let's take a look here. So, we're sitting on a mass of 2,919.8, 148 meters long, 33 meters high, and 65 wide. Power of, is that 16,000, or no, 165,000. Wow, I cannot read at all today, apparently. And 314,041 per second. Fair bit of thrust on this thing at 5,279. Turning speed is on the x-axis is 1.1, y 1.2, and z 1. Shields of 305,812. That's a fair amount of shields for it.
Yeah, I decided to, it's big. It needs some sort of defense, and being a short-range cargo hauler, it's gonna probably it's gonna function more like a blockade runner. I mean, even I made a dedicated one of those. In fact, I got a lot of work in progress for that, so we might take a look at that sometime later. But I figured it needs to be a little bit beefy, but realistically, it's not too terribly overpowered for something this size.
No, I mean it'll take a couple hits. Maybe not from like the hailstorm or anything, but then again, not much takes a couple hits from the hailstorm or the Sirius or anything.
True that.
Alright, so I want to get another look through these windows here. So really, I know to everyone else this doesn't seem like much, but it makes this whole thing look a lot bigger than it really is. It reminds me of the look from on top of freighters when you're looking across the cargo from one of the lower decks. It makes that ship look absolutely massive, and I've been on a few and seen that, and it's really quite an interesting look. Right.
If you want to see something neat, if you come outside, the cargo container actually does have an interior.
Where are you?
Although, admittedly, it's docked upside down. I just flew inside the cargo container.
Alright, where's the door in relation to me?
Directly in the center of this thing.
Directly in the center.
Yep.
Oh,
There's
mine
one
is.
above and one below.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a
Let's take a
I
look.
decided to design it as a kind of unisex cargo container because well, this is the alpha version
Oh,
even.
sneaky, sneaky little one wide hole. Okay. Hey, I'm here. All right.
And as you'll notice, we're upside down, but that's okay.
Everything's all right. All right, and then cool little core thing here, and a
No
lot of flex
gravity or anything
storage.
like that. Oh yes, I figured I was gonna do the whole walls.
It's almost like too much. Like, what
Oh
would
yeah,
you even put there?
good question.
But I mean, in this you could, traffic all sorts of weird stuff. You could put elephants in this thing and fly around for fun. In fact, I think I might make you an elephant one day, just to put it
That
here.
is awesome. I would love to put a Plextor elephant in here. That being said, I should make a version of this container that has a big door at the front that I can dock things in.
Yeah, and then you could have like what is it? Have you seen Battlestar Galactica, the new version?
I'm afraid not, actually.
There's this one point where they have a sortie where they have to get fuel from the Cylons, which are the robots or whatever,
Right.
and so the Cylons are covering the only fuel base within like many jumps most likely, and so to double bluff them, they run in a cargo transporter and a couple of mining ships as if they were going to mine it. So the Cylons go after them. Then they move into Battlestar, and those Cylons split off from the decoys and go back towards Battlestar Galactica. And they pop a cargo container's lid off and launch a bunch of Vipers from the cargo container ship. It's a really really cool move. And
That's an interesting. Oh,
so
now I've got to do it.
well, maybe we can work out a deal here, and maybe we can size it for the Jedi starfighters that I've been working on. We can have a few
That
of
would be
those in
pretty
there.
cool. That's the one thing I really like about StarMade is, and especially I guess at this point Star Wars as well, because you can kind of merge things from different universes.
Oh yeah, you can do whatever
I
you
would
want.
I would love to roll up on an Imperial Star Destroyer
You will.
in the Sirius or something like that. That would just be
Let me
kind of
just
awesome.
a spoiler for my later projects. I am currently working in the Wars era with the Acclimator. I don't think that's a secret anymore. Um, but my own personal project that may or may not, I will neither confirm nor deny, that sort of thing, coming up might be an Imperial 1 or Imperial 2 Star Destroyer.
Ooh.
Fully outfitted with, TIE hangar bays and everything, so.
I still think that you need to do the Star Destroyer with the big, I guess you'd call them warp disruptors.
Oh yeah, the interdictor?
Yeah,
That's
the interdictor.
that's
I
actually
want to see the
technically
interdictor.
a small cruiser or something like that. Um, but yes, that is definitely on my project list. I want to make an entire fleet, Imperial fleet, from the Clone Wars to all the way up to what's actually considered the Fel Empire. It's in the works. It's in the
We're
works.
going into the expanded universe now.
Oh
It's gonna be
yeah,
hardcore.
I was even thinking about making a Yijin Vong world ship.
Ooh, that's gonna be almost impossible, but really cool if you pull it off.
Yeah, I want to, but I don't think I can. We are going to make a Starforge though,
You take a
because
couple of see. This is what I want to see. I want to set my SFW ships in there and a lot of the other good ones from across the server stuff from Gundam. In fact, more spoilers. There may or may not be a point in the future where user-submitted ships from different universes are going to have a chance to duke it out against each other. I mean, wouldn't it be
ooh,
cool to see the Enterprise fight a Star Destroyer for real?
I would love to
Or
see the Enterprise fighting a Venerator or a Acclimator or an Imperial 2 or whatever.
and don't quote us stats, we know, but this
Yo,
is StarMade. We can do what we want.
yeah, whatever you can cram in there is good to go.
Pretty much, and I'm thinking as well. Just imagine you got the Enterprise, you got or even the Peregrine fighter, something little, fighting a Tie fighter,
Oh
and that's
yeah.
that's just one example. Throw a couple of my ships in there, throw a couple Gundams in there,
Heck, I'll throw
throw
in
Battlestar Galactica, maybe a TARDIS or two.
exactly. Oh, that would be interesting. That would be a lot of fun. Do ranked matches for ship classes?
There is stuff that may or may not, once again, can neither confirm or deny, may or may not be in the works for that sort of thing. So, I would not, or maybe I would recommend building your favorite fan cannon ships, or even your own ships, because that's cool too.
Of course. All right. Well, I think with this last flyby here, I'm gonna have to sign off as my computer is starting to hate me. Um, but yeah, so this has been what is this ship called?
The SFW Libra.
So this has been the SFW Libra from conception to almost full realization. I think that's a fair way to say it.
Yep, release
With
candidate, I guess, is complete, but yeah,
tweaking.
tweaking.
Just
So
yeah,
much
just
tweaking.
just a little bit of tweaking left,
As we
hopefully.
speak, I am replacing blocks.
All right, so I'm gonna have to say goodbye to everyone, and may all your builds be inspired.